What is going on? You are listening to Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, celebrating 5 years. This is episode 408, Sex Positive, talking all the time alongside Jeremy Ross Lopez. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good, really good. Thank you very much. Of course, joining us is Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. How about you? How you guys doing?
Good, doing
Very
really
good.
good. Yeah, I had a great weekend. I went hiking I'm into hiking these days, and this hiking I went to a place called Breakneck Ridge, which is probably not the greatest name of a mountaintop.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh.
I know, but I loved it so much. I'm really getting into it. This one was really challenging, though. It really pushed my boundaries a lot. I was happy though to see a bunch of gays though in groups. There was a bunch of groups. I'm kind of a more one-on-one hiker, or maybe a couple people. There was groups of gays, groups of heteros, groups
Oh,
of
Lord.
I know, kind of gaggle-y, I have to say.
Gaggle the gays. I love it.
I was not for that though, because I'm just trying to breathe and get through this hike, and I do not want to be gaggling along. But I'm happy to see them and happy to see that they were there. It was It was beautiful. I'm still sore. My calf muscles are just really worked today, 2 days later, but excellent exercise, and I loved it so much. It's just fun being one with nature and all that. Jeremy, I feel like you would like hiking, yes?
I do, but I definitely like the lower trails rather than
Right?
steep ass ones that are yeah, just easier.
I hear you. Yeah, this one.
Beginners trails are my thing with the best view at the top.
Got it.
I
And
agree.
Kodi, I already know you are fearful of heights. Yes,
I am. Yeah, I'm so afraid of heights. So if it's not too steep, it's for me. But if it's steep, then I'll see you at the bottom, boo. Okay.
The craziest moment is my friend and I are going down what many of us didn't anticipate was going to be as steep as it was. And we're talking, you had to put your hands down and kind of go down like a crab. That's how steep it was at
Oh my
times.
Lord.
No,
And
ma'am.
this woman, I'm not sure where she was from. She could have been Russian or Eastern European, lived in the area of Hudson Valley up in New York, was walking with a backpack and a huge and we were, what is she carrying? She had this basket. It was filled with parakeets in them, and she's going down. She went ahead of us, and we were like, how in the world is she doing this? We fell and slid and bumped ourselves a lot, and we're holding on for dear life, and here she is with a backpack and a basket of parakeets that
Wow.
I think she made it fine, but
She's part mountain goat. That's what it's
part mountain goat. I mean, I'm a Capricorn goat, but no, they make them different in different parts. Let's just say
that. you're a city living mountain goat. Yeah,
I'm a city living one. Absolutely. The other thing I did this weekend, and I think Jeremy, you started, is on Netflix called The Watcher. Did you start watching?
Yes, I finished it yesterday.
Okay, I finished it yesterday too. It's a 7-part thriller starring Bobby Cannavale, who I love, Naomi Watts, Jennifer Coolidge, just to name a few. Ryan Murphy, I didn't realize, is producing it and directed several of the episodes. So it's got that tinge of creepiness that he loves to infiltrate in many of his series. I liked it though. What did you think?
Yeah, it was cool.
Very scary.
I wasn't expecting the ending, and it was definitely creepy.
Based on a true story about a house, a kind of a haunted, wondering if it's haunted or not, or is somebody really watching this house, and it's gone on for decades. And we'll just leave it at that. If you like that kind of thing, check it out. I really enjoyed it. But I have to tell you, Jeremy, one of the early moments in the series that caught my attention, I had to scribble it down and say, make a note that we got to talk about this on the show, was their child in the series The Watcher is 16. It's a girl, she's 16, and they hired this guy to do the lights around their house, or not the lights, the cameras, security. And he has a thing for the daughter. Well, it turns out he's 19 and she's 16, and we find out later because the father's like, what the, because he has suspicions of this 19-year-old coming on to his 16-year-old daughter, like, what the hell is going on here? And did you know, I did not know this, in New Jersey, y'all, the age of consent is 16.
What?
I didn't know that till this show.
Me either, Jeremy. And were you shocked when you heard that?
I was like, I had to double check it because I didn't really believe it.
Oh my God. I went on Google, and you know how if you start typing out something, age of consent, in Jersey popped up right away after it.
No.
This is
God.
This is one of the number one streamed shows over the past week. So you and I weren't the only two thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, "What the hell?"
Not my home state,
Kodi. One of your home states, and isn't your boyfriend's?
No, he's from Long Island. He's from Long Island.
Sorry, I get all that mixed up.
It's almost the same, child. Don't worry about it.
First of all, that is crazy to me. Crazy because 18 already. We already know you're not a fully formed adult. The one thing I remember at 16 was as a gymnast. I've told it on the show before. I had a friend that was a couple years younger than me, and we played around and were experimenting in bed, little things, but we were around the same age. I couldn't imagine meeting. I would not be ready for it. I would be wrecked if I met somebody that was 25 or beyond that came on to me. Literally, I would be excited. I would be so excited, I think, but I'm sure I would be wrecked for life if that happened to me. I mean, Kodi, being from New Jersey, what are your thoughts on this age of consent being 16?
It's insane to me. I could not imagine. I am not even mature right now, I feel like. So I have trouble making decisions for myself right now as a 40-something year old man right now. I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, at 16, I was not ready to make that type of decision. And I'm glad I didn't know about this law because who knows what would have happened. Wow, that's so young.
Yeah, Jeremy, what are your thoughts? At 16, would you have been ready for somebody coming on to you? I know you got started a little bit earlier.
I mean, I came out at exactly 16, so I feel like I was a hot mess then, and I don't think I would have been able to make any serious decisions about being with anyone at that time.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, as the show goes, this 19-year-old would not have been breaking any laws by coming onto this 16-year-old. And I don't know, you're still most people you're a sophomore, maybe a junior at best, and you're still in the high school process. So I don't know why they don't just make it 18. Makes sense to me. At least you're out of high school. That tends to be when parents are done with kids. If they really wanted to, they could be like, sayonara, you're on your own. Kids. Well, I mean, you don't have any responsibility towards your
get what
kid
you're saying.
At 18. I don't know why all of a sudden in Jersey it's like 16. That's got to piss off a bunch of parents in New Jersey County. If you're from New Jersey, let me know your thoughts on this. We want to hear from you. Also, moving on, we were asking the other day on Tag's podcast, it was National Coming Out Day, and we asked you to continue the conversation. And one of our listeners wrote in on Instagram and shared his coming out story. Speaking of coming out, I came out when I was 15 in 1999, he says, sinfully says. It was my freshman year of high school. Okay, here we go. That age group, right? I was the only out person in my school for most of my time in high school. After I turned 16, here we go, I started taking myself to get tested every 6 months. Interesting. I'm assuming he means HIV, yes?
Yes.
My junior, I know you got this one too, Kodi, right?
Yeah.
My junior year, I joined an organization called Time Out Youth. It was for LGBT youth. We had weekly group meetings where we would discuss everything from sex, relationships, and coming out. We would also go to local schools and universities and have informative workshops. My senior year of high school, I tried to start a straight gay alliance at my school, but the principal wouldn't allow it. Wow, thank you for writing in, Sinfully, because how progressive are you? I think I told you that in response on social media, but you probably could have handled a relationship in New Jersey at 16. You, at least sexually, it sounds like you were prepared. My goodness. But and kudos to you for starting a straight gay alliance, even if your principal poo-pooed it, which is lame, but pretty cool. Yeah. So thanks for writing in on that. On that note, we always like to give sex and relationship advice. And I just realized something, that when somebody writes DMs us, I was on the train going hiking this weekend, and I notice if we're not friends and somebody DMs me, if I look at it and don't accept it or decline it, it will disappear. So wow. I know. And so what I now realize is that person, you might know who I'm talking at right now, because you recently wrote in and were asking for advice. It disappeared, and I learned my lesson on how it works now. I got to accept it. Somebody else wrote some nastiness over to the show too. So I was reading that and I was discombobulated with that. And so I should have declined that one and accepted yours. So I now know if you do DM, please, if you're not hearing your response, it was you. So please DM us again, and we will be happy to give you sex and relationship advice. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Well, I don't know why I got this article. It's from thechristianpost.com. So just giving you a heads up on that, you guys. There's a brand new book that they're talking about called, you know how the whole country is up in arms, or parts of the country like Florida on Don't Say Gay and banning books in certain schools. There's a current book written by James Dawson entitled This Book is Gay. And in the book is available to students of a public school district in all places in Massachusetts, Jeremy. It includes instructions on how to use online sex apps in the book, drawing the ear of online critics as debate about the content accessible to students in public schools. The Twitter account Libs of TikTok published a tweet just Monday reporting that the book, titled The Book is Gay, proudly displayed at a school within the Newbury Public School District in Newbury, Massachusetts. They talk about in the book things like how to use apps. The book informs readers that after they upload a tiny pic of themselves to the app works out your location and tells you who the nearest homosexuals are. From there on, users can chat to them. We all know how it works. Yeah. Libs of TikTok's Twitter thread about the book includes a screenshot from chapter 9, The Ins and Outs of Gay Sex. The first page of the chapter notes that this chapter is about sex and urges those who aren't ready for the finer details of same-sex pairings to skip the chapter. The book laments that schools taught you all about straight sex when you were 10 years old, and maintains the fact that they didn't also teach you what same-sex couples do is nothing less than institutional homophobia. Straight sex was presented as the norm to make 5% of the population feel abnormal, the book states. This chapter is simply all the stuff teachers should be saying if they want to be inclusive of people with same-sex attraction. And when I first looked at this article, I thought, wow, this is a lot for a kid to be learning so early on about the apps. And then I thought about my own education, and I agree with the authors of this book in many of ways, because I got sex education, but it was all heteronormative and didn't
Mm-hmm.
teach me anything. And we're talking the 80s when we should have been probably talking about safe sex and the things that sinfully who just wrote into us was getting. I didn't get any of that stuff. So I think for certain kids, this could be really good. If your kid, I got thrown the joy of gay sex. My father literally almost threw it at me. He didn't throw it at me, but pretty much said, "Here, read this." And that was the end of our conversation of how I learned about sex. And it was all, like I said, all about heterosexuality. And meanwhile, I was pining away. And I do think with proper education and talking about this book with certain young adults, this could be kind of educational. Jeremy, do you think it's too much for this book to be sharing, or is it a good thing?
No, I think it's a good thing. I also think in today's day and age, they have a lot more technology than we had.
Yes.
Like just growing up and in school as well, because a lot of schools use iPads and stuff like that now in placement of actual textbooks.
Oh,
So
wow.
I feel like just the fact that uh, technology has changed itself, I think that it does kind of accelerate growing up a little bit. And also the stuff that I see just watching TV that commercials are allowed to like say and show now, I kind of feel like in a way, even the teenagers that I've seen in my area going to prom already look like way older than when people were like awkward and like, I don't know, when back in the day, like when everyone had braces and glasses and stuff like
Yeah.
that, now it's like the girls look like Playboy bunnies and they're literally like 15 and 16 years old going to prom wearing like a little silk dress and like I don't know. It's just I feel like it's good that to educate when everything feels like it's being accelerated a little bit, a lot faster than when I was like still playing with Legos and toys and like I don't know. It feels like all of that stuff is kind of like faded out.
Yeah, it's almost like the blueprint doesn't work anymore for newer generations of today. I don't know, Kodi, what are your thoughts on this? Is this too much too soon, or is enough? Could there never be enough education? And books like this are actually beneficial if it's maybe used in the right way.
I completely agree with Jeremy. I think that because kids are exposed to so much nowadays, it's better to have them prepared and just more mindful of things as opposed to not being aware. And it's good that the book actually addresses if you're not ready for this, then that you probably shouldn't be reading it. So I'm glad that they touched on that as well because it tries to move at the young adult's pace. And I feel like this book can also be used as a guide for adults to talk to their kids that are also coming out and struggling with feelings of identity and things of that nature. So I think this book is a great idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. The grinder part of it, talking about online apps, and this is how people meet, and you put up a picture, I think is great, but in conjunction with a conversation with an adult, a parent, I could see a lot of parents having this conversation, whether you're gay adults or straight adults, to your potentially LGBTQ child. But you know, that's something that really happens. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I think maybe making people aware and continuing the conversation, because I think it sounds like all it's talking about is the basics of using online apps. And
Hmm.
as we know, we're going to talk about in a minute another story about Grindr. Things happen on the apps, and we are as adults navigating through the trials and tribulations of what it means to be on these apps, and people getting into bad situations, and
Yeah.
people go. I mean, are you, if you're opening that Pandora box, are you going to also talk about the hatred that comes out of some of these, the ghosting that also comes out of the people that get themselves in situations that don't know how to get out of? I think you need to really then flesh it out if you're going to go there. It's a fine line, I think, but because would you really want, Kodi, if you were going to be a parent with Joe, would you want your young child to know about these apps so soon, or figure they're going to learn about it anyway?
Yeah, that's what I feel. I mean, and phew, I mean, that's pressure right there. I'm started sweating from all of my orifices.
I know, it just made your parents
I know.
skipped over the marriage.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I feel like that's out there. So my child would have to struggle with that. They would have to deal with that. So I feel like the more prepared they are, and I would want them to come and talk to me as well, because as a parent, I would definitely want to make sure that my child, it knows that they're supported and loved by me. So yeah, I think this book in conjunction with parental guidance is the way to go.
Got it. All right. Well, moving on, we recently talked about how Grindr has a brand new CEO who happens to be gay. However, people are ready to #delete Grindr after seeing troubled tweets from the app's new incoming CEO. And the reason is because George Arison, he's the new CEO. He's 44, co-founder, and he is a lot of his older tweets are coming up, and that's what the problem is. They're conservative tweets. A month after Grindr announced Arison as CEO, Twitter users are resharing a number of conservative-leaning political tweets from the executive, which includes praise for former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and Senator Mitch McConnell. It doesn't just stop there, though. Arison responded to a since-deleted tweet from then-presidential hopeful Michael Bloomberg, stating that he is a conservative who agrees with, quote, some Trump policies, though he didn't specify which ones they were. And in addition to that, they dug up tweets and put them the whole list of things that he has supported that are very conservative, including this year, Arison said that Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin should run for president. As a refresher, Youngkin ran for a gubernatorial campaign last year that was in opposition to LGBTQ rights and has previously stated that he opposes marriage equality. So he's definitely a conservative, and these are all coming up. I bring this up because recently, and interestingly enough, one of the hateful tweets that we got the other day was Steve always makes a story about every story and inserts himself and is a narcissist. And I laugh because that's what you're supposed to do on a podcast, is relate to the whole thing. So
yeah,
that is an oxymoron in and of itself, but I'm going to do it right now as listeners. So sorry. But essentially I had this guy that I met at the Eagle here in New York City. We went home, we had great sex, and in bed, I was telling this to Lincoln last week on episode 406, that he is a Republican, and his boyfriend, he's in an open relationship, who is also a Republican. And we really got along, and we had sex multiple times in a overnight cycle into the morning, including we want to get together again. And he reached out to me last week and said, when are we getting together? And so I think the question that I posed, I got is,
I'm wowing because you had sex with a Republican. Oh my goodness.
Well, I know, and I guess does this ultimately there's a couple questions I guess I could pose. One of them being, do we care? Shouldn't people be able to have whatever party they want to be associated with? And I, for a long time, was like, no, you have to be only Democrat for me to like you. And I've gotten over that because that's ridiculous, and you would alienate everybody. And I don't want it to be so black and white. And so I want to hear people out. And so I try and consume at least some middle of the road content, so I'm not just so left liberal, drinking my own Kool-Aid. I don't know, Kodi, what are your thoughts on this? Would it matter for a CEO that is gay but is a conservative for you to quit using the app? Do you care? Could you sleep with a Republican?
So I could sleep with a Republican, but I think that at the base of it, at the core of it, it really comes down to what policies he actually agrees with Trump, because Trump in and of itself, and this is going to be like a very at the risk of sounding relatable on a podcast, I think that it's his policies can be very racist. They can be very not um, uh, positive for the LGBT community. And so I think that if you look at it, maybe if he's fiscally a Republican and in his personal political policies, he's Democratic, I think that that would be okay. But I do not agree with a lot of the social views of Republicans, unfortunately. And I guess I have to sit down and talk to a Republican and actually have a one-on-one as far as that's concerned, but I know that a lot of at the core I don't agree with a lot of what they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to me because when you're a CEO of a major brand, whatever the brand may be, I think, why do we need to know your political affiliation and how you feel about who you're supporting and this and that? I think sometimes power begets telling the world on all of a sudden how you feel and it's like you're a CEO of a major brand and you need to look at your brand. I think some of these CEOs put their foot in their mouths one too many times, whether you're gay, straight, or whatever. It's like, no. When you decided to become a major CEO of a major brand, why do we need to know where you are on the spectrum of the political spectrum and how you feel about this or that? I just think they give away too much and it's damaging to the brand. Jeremy, does it bother you that he has conservative viewpoints? Would you delete Grindr, #delete Grindr?
I don't know how I don't know if I would. I mean, I could definitely sleep with the Republican, and I would prefer not to know and not have the political discussion if I'm intimate with someone. But I also have tried dating a Republican guy in the past, and it didn't really work out for me.
I think I remember who that person was. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that, but I mean, that does sometimes, it depends on how political the person is on a daily basis, and then also like how much it engulfs their like being. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because there's a lot of people that are liberal, but they don't shove it down your throat. And that's what I love, people that don't need it to be a discussion. I don't mind it being a discussion, but I like to not partake in politics in general, especially in a group setting. And I just don't find it a fun topic to discuss. And that may sound like very
Pollyanna.
not just being like not being able to have an adult conversation, which is so not me, but I just don't like hearing like opinionated points of view, and I just don't really like the topic of politics in general with family or friends or dating anyone.
And let's be honest, it's typically with alcohol that,
Right.
and we all know how alcohol can escalate a conversation and viewpoints can get skewed and intensified. So
But it does also, like, I feel like there's an aspect of it that does make you indirectly judge someone, like, in my opinion, if you know that that's their view or they have certain views that you just disagree with, it does kind of like put a sour taste in your mouth and
Mm-hmm.
give you a little distaste. And I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone, but that's definitely my point of view on it. When I know someone thinks a certain way, it's almost like not a turnoff, but I don't know, I just view them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's just an interesting thing too because it's so easy. I remember back in the day dating somebody. I told this briefly last with Lincoln years ago. I dated a guy, and everything was lovely. And I flew to Texas to stay with him, and then I saw Ronald Reagan biography on his shelf, and I said, wow, you have a Ronald Reagan biography. That's interesting. Turns out he was a staunch Republican supporter of Reagan, which I was not at the time for many reasons that I'm not going to go into right now. I think many of you know, listening to the audience, we can just talk about HIV to begin with.
Yep.
But I got into it with him, bad mistake, and flew home early because that's how bad it went.
Lord.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. Just that's, and we ended up becoming friends later because he moved to LA and mended it in many ways and became good friends. But I think it, as a person of color, for me personally, I'm just speaking, that's one thing with the person that I was dating who was white. If I met somebody that was a person of color and they were conservative too, and then we got down, yes, I think we can all agree, having sex, you can actually have great sex with somebody you disagree with. It's probably even better in many ways because you're just like, yeah, fuck you. I'm just going to fuck the living lights out of you. And oh my God, let me bring it back here. But I think that with somebody that would be another person of color, that would be a problem because I just know down the road in a relationship, I would be questioning them. How can you support this? How can you support that? And it would be a checklist that would come up a lot. We would just be watching TV, I'm sure, and it would come up in TV. I don't know, Kodi, last thoughts on this? You get the final word.
Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Well, Jeremy and I were not. Yeah.
So I agree with you. Like, it doesn't matter. Am I having sex with Christian Walker or am I having? Because the answer would be no. I do not want to have sex with somebody who has the same views as Christian Walker. Or am I having sex with somebody who is amenable or that has a viewpoint about social issues that is open-minded and things of that nature? I would want to have sex with that person. So it all comes down to the person, and people are more than their party, their political party at the end of the day. And that's my final thought.
Hey guys, your buddy Steve V here, and I hope, like myself, you are getting out there a little bit more, if you know what I mean. It's also officially cuffing season. By getting out there, you want to be able to have as many hot experiences as you can and last as long as you can in bed. When I'm with that special person, I want to last all night long. When I'm single like I am now, I want to be able to go to those play parties and also be able to last all night long. Well, I'm really excited to tell you about Roman swipes. Roman swipes are convenient, they're over-the-counter wipes, and they're clinically proven to help you last longer in bed. So they're uniquely formulated so that they can reduce overstimulation without eliminating sensation altogether. All you got to do is remove the disposable swipe from its discreet little pocket-sized packet, wipe on the most sensitive part of your penis, and allow to dry for about 5 minutes. When it's used correctly, Roman swipes leave no scent or taste, so there's no transfer to your partner. They're safe, effective, and no prescription is needed. Try swipes today with a special offer just for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order. Simply go to getroman.com/tags, TAGS. That's getroman.com/tags, TAGS for 20% off. Love it. Okay, thank you so much. You know, there is a bisexual OnlyFans creator in Singapore who has been sentenced to prison over using the site. Titus Lowe, he's 22, said he wouldn't rule out a return to OnlyFans. A Singapore court on Tuesday sentenced an OnlyFans creator 3 weeks in prison for breaching a police order to stay off the adult subscription site, which he was under investigation for alleging breaking obscenity laws. Titus Lowe pleaded guilty to the charge and another account of transmitting obscene material for which he was fined 3,000 Singapore dollars. According to court documents, he will begin his jail term on October 26. Like I said, it isn't, I didn't say this, but it isn't illegal to consume OnlyFans in Singapore, but it is for what he put out there. And it actually, nobody would have known about this, but somebody, like we've been talking about with the Eric Adame situation, captured some of his video content.
Ooh.
And a young girl, speaking of underage laws, found it, and somebody turned that in. So it brings up like a whole list of, oh my goodness, in the new age of OnlyFans and where we're at with everything, my goodness. There's not a whole lot to say. I'm glad that his spirit isn't down and that he's still gonna consider, going back on OnlyFans. But I guess it's just a statement of, wow, we really are lucky to be here in America and what we get to do here. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what there else, unless you get,
that's crazy. I couldn't imagine.
No, exactly. And then in some news, these are just some quick fire news. Comment if you want. Cardi B wants to go to more gay clubs. She says people ain't turning up no more. She revealed that she might, quote, start clubbing at the gay clubs because, quote, people ain't turning up at the venues she's used to. I think I'm gonna start clubbing at gay clubs, she wrote on Twitter. The scammer, bartender, baddie clubs, people ain't turning up no more. Everyone just staring at each other, smelling like Baccarat. Baccarat, Jeremy? Baccarat. Yeah. Fans of the WAP hitmaker were quick to react to her statement, with one telling Cardi that, quote, only way you getting your life at the gay club is if you coming to Vogue night, laughing my ass off. And she has, of course, in the past said she's bisexual and eaten bitches out before. So
Oh, I love how you say that. That was amazing.
Are we here for Cardi? Does she have a point?
I love her. I think that she's so cute.
I think she's hilarious and refreshing and fun. And I agree, gay clubs are better and more fun.
Facts.
I kind of have to agree because I can just
my brother loves gay clubs too. He's like, he'll bring him and his girlfriend and they'll just dance all night at a gay club, and it's just not the same vibe when we go to straight clubs together.
Yeah, I've tried to go to certain events and straight events, clubs. Jeremy, one time we tried to go in Vegas after J-Lo concert.
Yeah, and that didn't work out.
It was a whole thing. We won't even tell you the price that one of our friends was going to pay. It just not even worth going into the whole thing. And you just know that once we got there, prominent DJ, of course, was spinning, that it was going to be a lot of looky-loos and just standing around and not really getting into it. And I don't know. And she's talking about a certain type of bottle service type thing, I'm sure. Yeah. There are clubs that I know the straights go to in Europe and all over the place that are not like that at all.
Well, in Europe, they're like just better in general, but they're also not. I feel like in Europe, the gays party with the straights, and it's different than here. And the music is really, really good.
Yes, absolutely. So, exactly. All right. Also in news, Mr. Gay World 2022 just occurred this past weekend. And the winner was Puerto Rican. And I'm talking to two Puerto Ricans right now. Jose Lopez is Mr. Gay World 2022. Max Appenroth makes history as the first trans runner-up. And congratulations, Puerto Rico's Jose Lopez was crowned Mr. Gay World 2022 on Sunday, while second runner-up was Germany's Max Appenroth, made history, like I said, as the first trans finalist in the pageant. They all were quick to point out that this is a role that they take very seriously, and that it's not all about just the looks. In fact, model and actor Lopez was clear frontrunner and favorite to win, but he struggled with being obese, his words, and I suffered a lot of discrimination from being obese, and because of problems in being able to communicate properly, Lopez told the judges during the contest and thanked his mother for her love that helped him carry on. And so I think they will continue. He wants to tackle things like body dysmorphia to help young people not go through the problems I went through. And that's why I want to be Mr. Gay World. He wants to use the platform to communicate a powerful message to the world. So congratulations to him. I think this is great. And to the trans runner up as well, because I think it's changing the landscape. And this is really good. So happy for that. And lastly, in news, we all know the legendary Angela Lansbury and her take on what she offered to the community of theater. She was did everything. But did you know that she went to a New York sex club? This is according to John Waters.
What?
Ever since Angela Lansbury died earlier this month at age 96, fans and colleagues have been sharing stories about her. The times they saw her perform live, their favorite Murder, She Wrote, all the actors. And so writer and filmmaker John Waters had a different memory than most. In his 2019 book of essays, Mr. Know-It-All, he wrote that he once saw Angela checking out the scene at a notorious New York sex club called Hellfire. And get this, I wish I would have been able to go to it. In a chapter entitled One Track Mind, Waters described Hellfire as a dungeon-like sex club beneath 9th Avenue that catered to gay and straight perverts alike. Some mixing together and others just plain voyeuring like happy sex tourists. Built underground around an old subway platform, the club was also the rage for a while. He subsequently wrote Seeing Lansbury at Hellfire in a virtual book talk. And when he saw her, she stopped me in my tracks. He asked Waters, she was a big AIDS. Sorry, I'm skipping over to different parts of it. Everybody went. She wasn't doing anything, Walter said. It was in Hellfire, and Hellfire was a straight gay bar where people had sex. You would be standing there talking about the new novel of Ellen Robe Grillet, and a penis would come through a glory hole, and ha ha ha, then you would move down to a different location in the club.
So amazing.
So fabulous. Yeah. So 70s, early 80s, where I just wish I could have been a part of, because I just think that's so amazing. And congrats to that. So may she rest in power. Okay. Yes. Well, moving on, in terms of gender, moving on, there's a new nightclub called Alejandro in LA's downtown district. Its gender expansive strip show is all the rage. And at the club, it's essentially Alejandro's strip event has featured a gender expansive lineup of trans, queer, and non-binary dancers every second Wednesday of the month. And it's held at a place that I know in LA called DTLA Precinct Bar. Alejandro is an event that not only highlights the talents and presence of its dancers, but also occupies a space where non-cis bodies and communities are embraced, liberated, and celebrated. And I'm just happy for this, because we were talking recently, Jeremy, on a show where many of the bars recently, there's been a little bit of backlash on it's not just men, and you said get over it, and I love that. What's your thoughts on this kind of Alejandro and the dancers being of all different, trans and everything in between?
I think that's awesome, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
I 100% agree. Kodi, your thoughts?
Oh, yes, I totally agree. I think it's amazing because it highlights an underrepresented community, and it allows them to express their sexuality, which I'm sure that it's been squelched in them so often. And I feel like also the people that admire those people,
yes,
I feel like they can, that's an outlet for them as well. So I am here for it 100%. I want to go and have fun there and see this. So let's go.
Yeah, it's just about representation. And the more we see this, the more our minds expand. And which brings me to a recent Reddit thread, kind of related. They asked the question, do gay men seem to have as much concern over genital preference as lesbians do? And they were essentially asking the question, if you met somebody that was trans, would you have a problem with that? I really had to think about this, how I would feel on it. And as somebody that is, 51 now, I'm kind of like, no, I don't think I would. I'm exploring different sides of myself. I think I wouldn't actually. Let me just read you a couple comments and I want to hear from you. I'll say that I know a few trans guys, no op, who are just fine for themselves in the gay dating world. Everybody always talks about boy pussy, so it would be pretty rude to turn it down should they actually get it. I love that.
Yes.
It would be nice if people stopped assuming I wanted to give it, though. Not even. Let me just read a couple others. It depends on the guy. I'm a trans guy who's been with a variety of gay men in the past, and it's ranged from butt is a butt. I'm down to smash, and do you have a strap? Great, all the way. So I don't know. Jeremy, would you have a problem? Would you be open to this, or would it be a hard no on genital preference?
For me, it's a no, but I wouldn't say that I need to meet the person first and have a connection before I think that the genitalia would be like a really big deal. So I'm not going to say a hard no.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's, it's so hard to meet people in general anyway these days.
Right.
And I think meeting the person would you go on maybe a date or meet the person first and see how you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. It brings up, it's where we're at right now. And I think it's a valid question and isn't being, I don't know, Kodi, what are your thoughts on this? Where do you stand on the spectrum?
I think for me, attraction is more important than what's necessarily in their pants or what's going on as far as their genitalia is concerned. I think that I would just have to be physically attracted to the person, and then we can move from there. Just like Jeremy was saying, like as far as I would have to get to know them first, and then we could see if we could have sex, because I think that for me, sex is more about a connection than about anything else, or especially genitalia. I think that's the last thing, because as long as I have a place to put it, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, because on with Lincoln, you guys didn't hear the episode, but I have been the last couple guys that I've met, I've been the top, and as a self-prescribed bottom for years and years, I think I just bought into that's what I am, and lately it's been working out for me to be using my top powers, superpowers, top powers, and it's been working for me. So in this situation, perhaps I do remember having this conversation on past episodes. I think I probably maybe would have had more of a problem, probably because I don't know that I could have then been able to top this person in front of me. Now I think I'm exploring this other side of myself, and the beauty of sexuality is that we're always evolving, we're always learning about ourselves. I'm always moving forward and changing and trying new things. So to me, this makes sense. I think we just need more representation of this. And moving on to a new Reddit thread that really did catch my attention, and I go through these sometimes, and I really pick out the ones that I think when they have an impact on where I have to think, I'm like, oh no, we got to bring it up for conversation. And I know my co-hosts are going to have something to say about it. They write, porn has really destructed how guys view sex and relationships. Before anyone mentions that this happens with straight men, I know there's tons of scientific research. They write articles, books, and documentaries on others on the effect of porn on straight men. However, the discussion on gay men is rare or not even included in the conversation. Just look on many of the threads posted here. Meaning Reddit, how gays navigate through social interactions among other gay men. How many things are simply set up based on what's in pornography? It's rather clear that porn is how people create their understanding of how they think gay men should be. From my perspective, I just guessed it's because because there isn't much or wasn't much media in the past showing how gay men should act, and not many real life examples of gay men. So a lot of people take from porn, and this has created some pretty bad things. There's nothing wrong with porn itself, they write, but as it's be proven, there's something wrong with how porn influences how you think you could treat others and
Mm.
yourself. Sex isn't like porn. People aren't like porn characters. Sexual tropes aren't real life. It's all make believes, yet there seems to be this clear thing that because it's in porn, it must be how things are.
Mm.
I'll give my thoughts as I culminate them, but I'm going to put you on the spot first, Jared, maybe. Because I remember you saying in an earlier episode that you consumed porn. You said you came out at 16. You consumed porn early on. Has porn consumed or directed the way you approach sex, or have you been able to separate them, or has it been talk to us a little bit about your experience?
I feel like just as of lately, I have been relying on porn a lot more than sex just in general and hooking up in general. I've kind of like put hooking up on the back burner a little bit and just really focused on like finding good porn, to be honest.
Yes.
But I don't think that that changes me as a sexual person or how I view intimacy with another person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Have there been times in the past where you saw things that you like, and it was an educational tool and you made it work for you versus things that were unrealistic goals, but that
Yeah, I don't really set any goals on sex or comparing it to something that I've seen. I mean, I'll definitely try new things that I see when watching porn
Mm-hmm.
and actual sex, but I don't set like a bar so high or just like expectations to be met that I have. I'm not that type of person when it comes to being intimate, and I kind of just like go with the flow, and it really is just my vibe with the person specifically.
I hear you. Yeah. Kodi, what are your thoughts on porn and your past relationships, or even
Mm-hmm.
your sexual relationship now with Joe?
So I think that porn has allowed me to expand how I feel about my sex life and what I'm capable of sexually. I think that it really gives me a lot of inspiration and I take all of it with a grain of salt because I know that porn is a fantasy at the end of the day. Like I'm not going to be having sex on top of a mountain or anything like that. Hanging
You
off of a
might.
ledge. I mean, not me, girl.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you can try that because you're into hiking now, and you are not as afraid of heights as I am. I think that I think
Let
that
the record be known, Your Honor, that that's correct.
but yeah,
Transcript, yes.
but it definitely has given me an outlet as far as expanding my views on sex and really just trying to be as adventurous with sex as possible. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that when you take into note that sex is a fantasy at the end of the day, when you try to look through the lens of your reality, then that's when you can actually apply it to your life.
I like that. And for me, I have still use porn, love porn. I like
Oh
OnlyFans
yeah.
and the type of porn, which I feel over the last couple years is more curated on what you actually like and people that you like. And so you're following people that maybe have certain fetishes or do certain things that are reinforcing things that you might want to do in your sexual sexcapades. And I think it could be a great tool. You're also supporting individuals' sexcapades and not a studio, which I'm here for. I'm all about. I mean, we do a show that's all about, and the low man on the totem pole trying to get, a business out there. And so I like that. I think that I have distanced myself a little bit from porn and minimized it in times more recently so that I can have sexual experiences and then I don't dull my senses. And I'm finding recently that balance, and it's not always easy, but it's a balance that is keeping me sane on real life experiences, things I want to. There's times in our lives when we're not as sexual too. We've got other things going on in our lives that porn can be very useful, I think. And you're working on, there's only so many hours in the day. And so I think it can be really great.
Yeah.
But when you are trying to explore some of your sexuality, it's nice to have a good balance of it. So yeah, it's a great thing to think about and consider where you are on the spectrum and how has porn worked for you as a gay man, LGBT person. Where does it work for you? And just kind of consider that. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. And lastly, somebody wrote in on a recent Reddit thread. We just can do a quick fire on what's your idea of the perfect date. We've talked about this before, but the question is pretty self-explanatory. I'm asking this, the writer writes, because I myself am heavily leaning towards a cozy vibe when it comes to dates, and I'm wondering if other LGBT men feel the same way. Some people wrote things like, you left out mini golf and pizza.
Aww, that's so cute.
Yeah. Somebody wrote, fall, winter is the most depressing time of year for me, so I'm going to have to disagree in terms of October, doing things around. People wrote, in all seriousness, dinner and a movie, a picnic, a hike, something low-key and cozy with them. That's kind of where I'm at. Something low-key. Maybe a hike, not the hike that I did because it required a 90-minute train ride. Very long time. Parts of where I used to live in LA, and I know you've done this, Kodi, before in LA, Runyon Canyon is a great, for all our LA listeners, a great date thing. You can often spot a celebrity along the way, which can be a little fun. And you might even find, if it's getting a little frisky, there are pockets in Runyon Canyon that you could go off to. And I'm just saying, maybe some outdoor sex could happen too. Hey. But I think some people wrote a movie. That wouldn't be mine, just because I think that you can't talk in a movie. So, and who knows if they even like the same kinds of movie. Kodi, you like all the superhero movies. I don't want to see that. I want to see Dahmer. No, I'm kidding. But
and I don't want to see that. Oh my god.
I'm just saying that it comes, a cup of coffee. A lot of people like to say, typically in the middle of the day, I'm too busy doing too many other things, so I don't really want to get a cup of coffee. I'm a cocktail, like a happy hour cocktail moment. And I stand by that because you can have a lot of fun, lighthearted conversations and you're not committed too long. Jeremy, what's your favorite best date options? And then maybe like a second one.
I like happy hour, brunch, like
I know. We didn't think of that.
In the park type of thing. I definitely like booze involved because it does help break the ice a little bit. And brunch is nice just because you can drink minimal, like mimosas and stuff, and just get to know someone, but also kind of in daylight and not so romantic on the first date.
I like those. Yeah. Brunch is actually a good, I was going to put brunch in only my friend category, but if I like you enough or it's a second date, I would do a brunch. Brunch to me is still sacred. Kodi, what are your thoughts on not the brunch thing? But
I love brunch with friends. I could do a brunch with a date too, but they have to be prepared for me to get sloppy. I think that my favorite, I think I heard you say this, Jeremy, is a walk in the park. That is so good. I want to live my Mandy Moore fantasy. Yes, honey. I want to be in the park walking, and it's October 3rd. It's because it's not too hot and not too cold, and I just think that that's the perfect date. And like with booze, and then you can lay a blanket down and you can have a little picnic lunch and drink and just talk, because that's the part that I really enjoy, the connecting part. So yeah.
You can't stress the power of being outdoors, whether it's a walk in the park, a lovely hike, not like the one I was doing, but Runyon Canyon or something fun like that. It's just being, because you're interacting with other people. You're going to see all kinds of people. It's stimulating. You're out with nature. To me, that's where I'm at right now. We're so insulated these days and on our phones and on the computers. It's really so great to get a breath of fresh air. And I mean, Jeremy, I know you and I love bike riding. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say that if you asked them in advance if they like that? That could be fun, yes?
Yeah, that is fun.
Yeah, I think that's a fun thing to.
I-
Kodi, no, you're afraid of that too?
No, I love bicycling. I was going to say horseback riding as well, but then your butt would be hurt for the wrong reasons, I feel like. So I nixed that one pretty. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. Thanks guys for playing. I love it. You can always follow my co-host, follow Jeremy, and on Instagram at jrosslopez, jrosslopez. Follow Kodi at KMD Coaching, because he's a life coach, KMD Coaching, or at Mr. Maurice. And of course, follow us at TAGSPODCAST.com for show notes, links to other episodes. The Tags Live is every Wednesday night. Our Patreon page where you can support us, go to TAGSPODCAST.com or on all social media platforms at TAGSPODCAST. Guys, thanks so much.
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Yeah. Totally.
And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay sex. Yes.